Uh, Good evening and Happy New Year. Welcome to our first Town Board of the Town of Asean work session for 2022, this Tuesday, January 4th, 2022, and our first meeting of the new year. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I have a few announcements this evening, which I'm going to start with. And I hope everyone enjoyed their holidays and found some time to rest and recharge. Welcome to our newest colleagues on the town board, council members Gabrielle Hamilton and Angelo Minicchio. After and during all the fun stuff that I hope you got to enjoy a little of, we have also been dealing with our current reality. Once again, we are seeing a very significant COVID-19 surge here in our community, as most of the country is experiencing now after the holidays. There are currently 1,583 active cases in the town of Asean, including both villages. And there are currently 36,529 active cases in Westchester County, which is the highest total we have seen throughout the entire pandemic. And the number of active cases is likely higher as many people are using at-home tests, which do not get reported unless one chooses to do so. We encourage everyone to step up and take as many precautions as they can to reduce the spread of the virus. Masks and vaccines continue to be our best protection against serious illness, though breakthrough infections are happening. They almost always produce less serious symptoms than infections among the unvaccinated. The overwhelming majority of us, our town staff, and is over 90% have had at least one dose of vaccine, but the percentage of people who have had completed the vaccine series is lower, as is the rate of people who have received the recommended booster dose after 2 months for Johnson & Johnson or 6 months for Pfizer or Moderna. If you've not already done so, please complete your vaccine series and or get your booster shot. Pediatric vaccination rates lag adult ones all over the state. Please also take your children to be vaccinated. Vaccines are available at the Asean Volunteer Ambulance Corps. And if you have read any of the social media reviews, you can see that OVAC has made getting this vaccine a joy for children. Yes, it's true. Visit OVAC's website, aseanvac.org/COVID-19 for more information, as well as many other local pharmacies. Do be aware of price gouging, however, that can still be found locally. The Asean School District has also been hosting vaccine clinics for their students. I think they also handed out at-home tests today and maybe over the weekend, I believe. And I know that they're sharing constant and regular updates. And if you do have children in the Asean School District, please make sure you do check regularly for updates. And I know that that Dr. Sanchez has asked everybody to prepare to move to remote instruction because it could happen at any moment. Over the holidays, the town and village of Asean received allocations through the county of at-home test kits and KN95 masks from Westchester County for use by the community and municipal frontline workers. And we've tried to get them to frontline workers and vulnerable members of our community. On Christmas Eve, OVAC distributed at-home test kits on a first-come, first-served basis to the community. We've provided these higher quality masks to churches, the Asean Food Pantry, Open Door, Horak, Scarborough Presbyterian, and the Briarcliff Asean Ministerial Association for the homeless shelter, as well as to Maryknoll Fathers, Maryknoll Sisters. Additionally, the KN95 masks have been distributed to our police and fire departments, DPW in the village, and highway employees, and the rest of our front-facing municipal workforce in an effort to keep our essential services up and running during this latest surge. We also received allocations of child-sized masks, which are going to be used and distributed via the Asean Recreation After School program and also through Open Door. We will notify the public via email and on social media about any additional distributions, in addition to sharing information from other organizations and governments that can help residents to get access to masks, testing, and vaccines. We are so incredibly grateful for all of the hard work and partnership from OVAC. They have been on the front lines, helping keep our community safe, vaccinated, tested, and masked during this pandemic. We just do not know what we would have done without them. Thank you for your leadership, Chief Nick Manzoso, and for your incredible, dedicated team of staff and volunteers. If you forgot to include OVAC in your year-end giving, it is not too late to donate. Just go to their website at aseanvac.org/donate. We know the pandemic continues to be a financially challenging time for many of us as we navigate quarantines, school closures, and so many unprecedented changes. If you are behind in your mortgage payments due to causes related to the pandemic, the New York State Homeowners Assistance Fund can help. Applications open up today, January 3rd, at https://www.nyhomeownerfund.org. To learn more and apply, please follow the Town of Asean on Facebook, Instagram, and our website, as we regularly share resources like these with the community during these difficult times. In the past few weeks, we have experienced some staffing shortages with employees testing positive, but we have been able to continue to provide the services our residents rely upon from the town, and we are hopeful that will continue with diligent masking and testing over the next few weeks. We will get through this together. In some more celebratory news, we Zoom hosted the inauguration of our new Town and Village of Asean officials on New Year's Day. Congratulations to all the recently installed elected officials, particularly those being elected for the first time, my new town board colleagues, Gabrielle Hamilton and Angelo Minicchio. We are pleased to be joined by representatives of the Asean for Refugees Community Sponsorship Organization.
All right, there we are. Oh, yeah.
And members of our
Hey, everybody.
Hi, welcome, welcome. We're so excited to have you. I'm just going through my announcements, okay? And we're pleased to be joined by.
I practiced for like the last 2 hours, and I knew that there was something missing. So thank you very much, Victoria, for sending that.
Okay, so let me just see where I'm up to. Our various faith communities spoke movingly about our call to welcome newcomers into our midst, a task that Asean is well positioned and well resourced to be able to do. You can view the video of inauguration on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel as well. Looking back on 2021 as we approach, or we're actually in 2022, I'm struck by the resilience and determination of our community. The various constituencies that comprise the Town of Asean, residents, town government, first responders, healthcare workers, business owners, not-for-profits, community leaders, and elected officials have all pulled together admirably to keep moving Asean forward. I'm grateful to be able to say that the town is greener, fairer, and more prosperous at the end of this last year, in spite of the daunting circumstances that we faced. Last week, we posted a 2021 year in review to our website. I encourage you to visit our website to read it and enjoy some great pictures of our progress from the year. And now we get to work on 2022. Do my board colleagues have anything to add or announcements?
I would like to join you in thanking OVAC for all they've done for the community. They went above and beyond. They are the true heroes lately. So definite thanks to Nick Franzoso and his team. They are an example for the rest of the county, and I'm awfully proud that they're ours. So
Hear to that. Anybody else? Okay. Councilwoman Hamilton, you have your hand raised. Did you want to say something?
I think she's having some technical difficulties with her sound, so she may not be able to hear us.
Can you hear us, Councilwoman Hamilton? Yes. Okay. Did you have something to say? You have your little hand raised. Did you have anything to say or not? No.
Nothing. No.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so in that case, we are going to move into our work session agenda. First up, we have a conversation with AGSA and Quiet Communities. One of the projects that we're hoping to advance in 2022 is establishing a green zone in the town of Asean. And specifically, what we're thinking about doing is to focus on one of our parks. Tonight, our first presentation is from our friends at Sustainable Westchester, Neha Danik and Nina Orville, as well as Jamie Banks from Quiet Communities and Dan Maybe from AGSA, to learn how the town can partner with these organizations to transition landscaping maintenance at one of our parks to low impact, low noise operations. And with that, I'm turning it over to Neha, I think. I'm not 100% sure, I think.
Sure. No, I will be running the presentation. Thank you for having us tonight. Let me start by sharing my screen first. That's going to be the number one thing. Is everyone able to see it all right? The slide decks that we have put together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if I start my screen share with presentation mode, is this okay now?
Mhm.
All right. So good evening, everyone, again. And I'm Neha Danik from Sustainable Westchester. I am so thankful for this opportunity today to present about this new initiative that we are offering at Sustainable Westchester to all our member municipalities, and we call it Sustainable Landscaping. We are bringing this in partnership with two amazing entities. Joining me here today is Dan Mabe from AGSA, which is American Green Zone Alliance, and he is the founder and president of AGSA, and they are based out of California. And also joining me today is Jamie Banks. She is the founder and president of Quiet Communities. They are based out of Massachusetts, and together they bring a very synergistic and complementary set of expertise, which provides an amazing way for municipalities as well as other large property owners to transition away from fossil fuel-based landscape maintenance towards more healthier and sustainable and low impact land care practices. So when we at Sustainable Westchester, when we were researching on what is going on in our communities, what are the pain points and how do we find a solution to it, we realized that communities across the board, across the county, are all struggling with this same problem, which is, on one hand, residents complain about the noise that comes out of the gas-powered leaf blowers and other, fossil fuel equipments when the landscaping industry is doing their job, and then the complaints reach the elected officials, who perhaps don't have a clear solution in front of them, because on one hand, there are these residents who are rightfully complaining about the noise and gas emissions, but on the other hand, there is this landscaping industry that is doing an honest day's job, and they are keeping our communities clean and looking neat and clean and free of pest. So how do we bring these two opposing forces together to bring a solution that works for everyone and is a win-win? And therefore, we found our partners, AGSA and Quiet Communities, to be the right entities to partner with, who are bringing a very positive approach towards helping us transition towards sustainable land care practices. So we already have submitted our proposal to Town of Asean back in November in 2021. We submitted a proposal where we proposed that, as Supervisor Levenberg mentioned, that one of the parks in the town of Asean will be certified as an AGSA green zone. And what that means is we will walk you through the key components of that project one by one, as we have also laid out in the proposal for your review. So I will just introduce the concept, and then I will welcome my partners, Jamie Banks and Dan Mabe, to chime in on the, some of the slides that they will, be the right voices to lend their voices to the slides. So all in all, by creating an actual physical site, which will be certified as AXA Green Zone, we are creating a permanent space where everyone can go and see and see for themselves how a sustainably cared lawn looks like. It is not going to be, compromising on the aesthetics. It is going to be at par with the lawns that we have come to see as being the standards of our aesthetics. However, there is a slight change to the way we go about doing this. And by creating that green zone, it is now a permanent structure in the community where everyone can learn and see how that piece of land is maintained in a very thoughtful manner, as opposed to just mow and blow techniques that has become the norm in the landscaping industry. So it is a structured way of going about the transition, and we will start by selecting a site. We are not sure which one will be the winner, but some of the names that we have heard so far are Ryder Park or Cedar Lane Park, or maybe there's another potential park that could be chosen to create this first AXA green zone in the town of Asean. So what will entail in the site assessment and site selection? Let's hear from Dan or Jamie. If you would like to chime in, please.
Yeah, I'll go, Neha. Good evening, everyone. I don't know if you can hear it, but my next door neighbor has the gardeners there, and it's pretty amazing. So definitely.
We can hear you all right.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, all perfect.
Okay. Yeah, we will work with your Department of Public Works or the vendor that actually services the property. But we will do a site assessment and determine how much turf there is, hardscapes, linear edges, hedges, and so forth. Take an inventory of the gas operations, individual pieces of gas equipment, understand what those pieces of equipment have to burden as far as workload. And that is how we're going to be able to spec out how much of the gas equipment we're able to reduce and or replace with their low impact alternatives. Those usually will be battery electric, and sometimes they're going to be lower emission gas options, and then also people powered tools.
Great. So then the next step that goes into creating a green zone is the first orientation of all the staff members who are going to be involved in this work. And AXA provides an in-classroom training or in-classroom, workshop to the staff members. And there are the various topics that are covered are, why we are doing this, what are the health and environmental impacts of, what we are going to achieve, and then the basics of the battery versus electric versus gas-powered equipments. And then for sure, the staff is going to have a lot of questions about, what is my workload going to look like? Am I going to work 10 hours instead of 8 with the electric tools, charging and storing them, so on and so forth. So AXA will provide answers to those questions, to those concerns, and then also go into the economics of, are we spending like 3 times more money on this equipment only to realize that, it's actually not such a good deal, or really there is a break-even point, and after which, the equipment starts to pay for itself. So things of that nature, which are really the nuts and bolts of the work, and are best addressed professionally from peer-to-peer knowledge transfer, which is why we have chosen to work with AXA, because they bring decades of industry experience, being a landscaper themselves. Like Dan's family, I've heard, used to own a landscaping business, and now he's helping his peers transition towards a more electric and sustainable practice. So with that, the other component that we have included in the AGSA green zoning process is the inventory of equipment, and Dan touched upon that a little bit. So along with that, they will also bring in the recommendations for which equipments, how do we replace specific gas powered equipments with an equivalent electric ones. Dan, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, just a quick add on to this. QCI and AGSA are entirely brand agnostic and neutral. However, that said, because this equipment is much more expensive than their gas counterparts up front initially, we have independently tested entire tool platforms, and we'll just be providing those X's and O's, giving you third-party references separate of even us for you to research. Ultimately, it will be up to the Department of Public Works folks to choose what's best for them, but definitely we will be giving them a lot of valuable information and examples of what has been working and where.
Great. Next slide also, Dan, if you can continue, please.
This is one of the reasons why you really want to bring in a structured program and system. This is an example of a company. Of course, we won't impugn anybody, but they did reach out to us and ask for help and never heard back from them. And then we did get the call about 6-7 months later, and we had to kind of go in there and clean up a lot of messes. What you see here in front of you is wrong in a lot of different ways, but first and foremost, safety. We really, in this entire transition that is sweeping the nation, we have to really understand that these technologies are different and safety is paramount. That's one. But the second is the ROI is contingent on the tools being taken care of. Unfortunately, for this set of tools that you see in front of you, it's roughly $11,000 worth of equipment. They will not be able to go back and utilize the warranty that's in place because this was just outright neglect and abuse. So it's just an example of what not to do and why you really want to bring in a lot of this information. Just to follow up on that slide, these are examples of 2 AGSA certified green zones. On the left is a state park in California. That's their charging infrastructure. And on the right is the city of Glendale, California. These are just examples of their charging areas going through the certification and the training.
So once the equipments have been purchased, there is another follow-up training and workshop held for the staff to actually, now start using the tools in the right manner. And therefore the topics in that kind of training will include, how to set up the infrastructure the right way, how to safely operate, handle, and store these equipments, and also go into the repair and maintenance of those equipments. Unless there's anything else to add, Dan, we can move on. Dan and Jamie? Yes? Okay. And then the final hurrah is this, site being certified, and we are all, looking at these photos from Village of Larch Ponds Green Zone ceremony, which was held in September 2021. And they were the first AGSA certified green zone in Westchester County. So there was such a great turnout, and in this event really made us realize even more the importance of the work that AGSA and Quiet Communities does, because there were so many people from different walks of life joining that event that day and celebrating that event, because it meant so many things to different people. Some were environmental committee leaders, some were just residents who were, maybe had enough of the noise and emissions coming from the gas-powered landscaping, and elected officials, as well as the municipal departments, the parks departments, the police department. Everyone was there, just basically, cheering on this new transition that was happening in the village. So along with the site certification comes a very important aspect to doing all this work, which is impact reporting. And Jamie, would you like to go into this details of the slide, please?
Sure. So hi, everybody. My training, I was a healthcare scientist for many, many years, and actually never thought I would be talking about lawnmowers and leaf blowers and so forth, but really all that healthcare training gave me an insight into what was disturbing so many communities, which were the impact of ubiquitous gas-powered land tools. We basically have gas-powered tools now for everything that was once done manually, and in many communities, these are used, on multiple sites simultaneously as well. So the gas-powered tools that are available now, there are 4-stroke mowers, and then all of the handheld tools, the blowers, the string trimmers, and so forth, are 2-stroke engines that are very, very polluting. And so when we do a green zone, we measure the beneficial impact reductions in terms of toxic and carcinogenic exhaust emissions. And we do this at quite a granular level. It includes fine particulates, ozone forming exhaust. Then also there's greenhouse gas emissions, noise, fuel spillage, the fuel consumed and that cost, and then toxic and solid waste associated with the maintenance of gas-powered tools. And this can include, all the chemicals in their solid containers that are used to maintain it, as well as the solid parts that get gunked up. And all of this is going into our landfills and potentially contaminating aquifers. So this is something that's important for towns to have and report out in their sustainability reports and to other audiences. And as they expand their green zone and expand the transition, you can really start to aggregate those emissions both on an annual basis and a multi-year basis, and it can become very, very substantial.
And there are 2 levels of the ELF analysis, correct? So we have submitted the proposal with both the layers of the tier 1 ELF impact analysis and the tier 2. And then moving on, the final component of AXA certification is also communicating about it, which is something that Sustainable Westchester will be, and along with our partners, AXA and Quiet Communities, we will help spread the word. We will help create more and more awareness, amplifying the announcements and the amazing news that's coming out of the town of Asean. In this case, as we are seeing, Village of Larchmont created a green zone, and everyone around it, the neighboring communities, everyone really heard about it and now is interested in doing something similar. So we want to really take this and spread it across the county so that landscapers operate across boundaries. And so if the landscaper in one community is now seeing a green zone and is purchasing equipments, trying to fit into this new need for electric landscaping, then they will be able to also carry on that work across borders. And therefore, hopefully in the future, we will have most landscaping work happening using sustainable and healthier practices. With that, I think there's one more optional component to the green zone, which therefore I have included a slide on it. Dan, Jamie, would you like to speak to this one, please?
Jamie, I want you to speak to it, but first I want to let you know that definitely the online course is part of the certification process for all workers that will be operating tools within green zones. But also we created this as a behavior modification mechanism to go out to more of the masses. And Jamie, you might want to add on to it.
Jamie, you're on mute.
Yeah, sure, Dan. So this is an online course to make it convenient for land care professionals to take. It consists of 15 lessons, and it covers everything from the importance of being certified at the beginning, really to ensure competence and hireability and so forth in operating battery electric equipment. And then the difference between battery and gas platforms, which are very significant, how to operate, handle, store, maintain the equipment, how to set up infrastructure properly, safety concerns, and then of course there's battery recycling and repurposing issues that need to be addressed. And as a wholly different technology, this course has actually been embraced by, I think, hundreds of professionals now, Dan, that have really found it to be useful in educating people about all the basics that it takes to make a successful transition.
Right. So with that, we have just walked you through all the different components of the green zone process that we have also submitted in our proposal. And with that, we will open for Q&A, please.
Thank you so much. And maybe we can just stop sharing the screen and we can see everybody. That'll help
Yes.
to get through the Q&A. I'm just going to start with lob you a couple of soft ones. You know, some of the, I got a late email from a concerned condominium owner about that we were going to be legislating, you know, green zones across the town, which we're not. This is specific to a park, and it's really works in two ways, I think, like as a demonstration project for ourselves. To start somewhere, and then also so that we can use it for others and for landscapers to get familiar with how a municipality is approaching more large scale. But we certainly have a lot of skeptics out there. And I was wondering if before we get into sort of more of the nitty-gritty questions about your proposal, you could address some of the skepticisms, which you know, we hear frequently, which is that, you know, that electric hasn't caught up yet to gas powered equipment. It's really expensive. And it's, you know, how do you show what the return on investment or ROI that you mentioned a couple of times, Dan, you know, how can you really prove that? And also for larger tracts of land, you know, the charge doesn't last long enough, and it's therefore less efficient especially for, you know, busy parks or DPW departments to use, that they can't keep up. And I know you did come and visit with our Parks Department and our Highway superintendent, have had a chance to speak with you a little bit, and they did also go to Town of Rye. You had a demonstration day there, and they, you know, they definitely continue to have some questions, but some of the part, you know, again, I think part of what you had discussed with us as you know, and as including the proposal is sort of helping guide us through a phased in approach to, you know, transitioning to electric, you know, for certain areas that make sense to do so, and specifically also the two-stroke equipment. So hopefully you can just clarify a little bit more what ultimately would qualify us as that green zone, what we have to do, and then also what we like to do, kind of thing. So I know I kind of threw out a bunch of different things there, but hopefully you can address a few of them before.
Sure. Yeah. The minimal requirement for an AGSA certified green zone is phasing out two-stroke equipment use for routine maintenance. If there's budgets there and you really want to cut down on the CO2, which is associated with the large mowing operations, then you can also pursue that as well. As far as skeptics go, you know, our body of work speaks for itself. We have nearly 1,000 acres of serviceable lands that are under our certification. 50% of that utilizes large mowers and robotic mowers to take the place of the gas mowers, if you will. We definitely do not do the square peg down the round hole approach. That is why we have different levels of engagement with the certification, the minimal requirement that I just mentioned. But it is, as far as all day use, we had promised your folks, and we're keeping that promise because we made the introductions. We, in this process, are going to allow the try before you buy. And that way, we just have a very clear understanding of what it can and can't do. We do not set false expectations. We do not embellish. We give the raw X's and O's, like, for example, the blowers. There is no commercial electric blower on the market that is going to do what the top gas ones do. That being said, we feel that the top electric models can do enough to transition in most situations. There are some gas concessions in the fall, prudently so, for blowers, and even in our green zones in the Northeast. So again, the process is reasonable, but it does have teeth, and the ELF reports do reflect what those changes actually are when you're able to even engage in the minimal requirements of green zones.
Okay. So with that, I will turn it over to my board colleagues. And does anybody have some questions for these folks about the proposals?
I have a question about the certification. I mean, my impression is we're picking a park. We're going to learn how the equipment works in our park and how our staff respond to it and all of that. The certification would be for us having a green zone in the town. Do we have to get rid of all of the gas equipment in the town to get that certification, or just don't use it in that park?
Yeah, no, you don't. It'll be just for that park. But let me tell you about a conversation I had with the city of South El Monte today. They're a disadvantaged community here in California. We green zoned Mary Van Dyke Park. It's a smaller park, but speaking with Alex, who we've been engaged with since 2013, it's just amazing to hear that all of the equipment that was purchased and earmarked for the green zone park has spillover. He told me that they are now, with the 2 mowers they have, mowing the entire city with their electric mowers. And they're going to be procuring more handheld stuff so they can officially green zone all of the other parks. The initial project would be park specific, property specific, so we can impart all of the knowledge and then enable the people who have received the knowledge to go ahead and expand on that. But it would just be for that park. But if you make the investment for that park, I assure you that those fleets are going to have spillover, and they will be able to be used in other parts of the city as you venture out and test the thresholds of the equipment.
Okay, another question is, would you, I mean, this is obviously where our community can watch at the same time and see an example of how to keep a larger area green in a green manner. So would there be kind of documentation for, or education for the general public as well as our staff to, or for our landscapers as well, to say, okay, you know, this is how we did it. These are the steps we took. This is where it's
Was that the
available.
last slide? Was that the last slide? I think
Was that the last slide for, I mean, that's how to, for them to become a sustainable gardener themselves. But I would like them, you know, like, I don't know, just examples like for our community, like, okay, we did this garden with this, we did this trimming with that, whatever.
Yeah, Jamie, I'll let you chime in here as well, but really quick, we created the green zone structure to lead by example, do as I do, not as I say. So there's 2 different ways it goes. We have always circled back with all of our green zone projects, and they have brought us back in to conduct workshops for the private companies to impart this knowledge. But also we have found that just by operating from a municipal perspective, they're going to have interaction. Just as Neha had mentioned, they're going to be talking about what equipment is being used and what those thresholds are that they're achieving. So you're going to get that net effect there, but also we can also be brought back in and conduct workshops in Spanish, in English, to reach the private sectors.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So what I was going to add to what Dan said is that, and we didn't discuss this, but there's real health implications from the noise and emissions that come out of this equipment, and especially for workers that are being exposed hours a day, several days a week. And one of the very nice things that we've heard with all the green zone work from DPW departments, from businesses, is that when the workers come in the morning, once they are trained and really get used to the electric equipment, that's the equipment they go for first. They don't want to use the gas equipment anymore because they're not hearing that incredibly loud noise. They're not smelling the gas. They're not smelling of the gas when they go home at night. And they know that it just improves health and working conditions for them.
In the vibration too. I mean, I'm a former gas operator. I can tell you when you're, lugging around gas equipment all day long and feeling the vibration, there's a fatigue factor. We do get positive feedback that the less vibration, the tools that are lighter, they definitely feel less fatigued at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, and by the way, that vibration has a very serious effect on the nervous system as well as other bodily systems, in that it can cause irreversible neurological damage, numbness, tingling, loss of feeling, and real disability over the years.
And a lot of lawsuits. That's the thing that I was going to add, is that, you can tell people that you're preventing them possibly from being sued by their
Yeah, there's
staff.
worker compensation issues.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
I think it's great. And I
Just
think
had
it's
one
great for the
question, if I
points,
could.
We
Sorry.
got two of you guys speaking at the same time. I'm gonna just recognize.
No, go ahead, Greg.
Okay, thanks. No, I was just gonna say, I think it's great. And I think it's great for the reasons in particular that you just mentioned. What this does to protect the people using the devices, I think is really vitally important. So thank you for that. And Dan, just because I think you mentioned California earlier, didn't they move to ban them going forward in a couple years completely?
No. Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, Greg. Jamie and I actually worked with the authors of the bill to make sure there was a lot of equity in it. But basically what the bill does, it's going to ban the sale of a category of SOAR, small off-road engines. And by 2024, the use of gas will not be banned. So it's a narrow category of SOAR that will be banned to be for sale in the state of California.
Okay, because I'm actually working on that in my day job with the Senate, so I will follow up with you on that as well.
Yeah, get in touch with me anytime. We do a lot behind the scenes with other states as well. So feel free to give us a ring.
I will. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Councilman Minichio, Councilman Meyer, are you all set?
I'm all set. Sorry to cut you off, Angela.
No. Okay, no worries. Well, next time.
No problem at all. Thank you. Heidi, I was just wondering, after we become the green zone, is there a recertification process? How long does that last? How long does that last once you become a green zone?
So far, I mean, our oldest green zones are coming up on 10 years old. They last in perpetuity as long as, we're able to keep contact with our liaison, if you will. There is an MOU / pledge of sorts For municipalities, they usually pass the green zone through city council. And then in other examples, we've actually helped cities rewrite the RFP language if they hire vendors and write the language of what that means. So as long as the standard can be upheld by the municipality, it should last in perpetuity. And the way technology is getting better, it is advancing. We just feel that they're pretty secure. I'm going to knock on wood really quick. We're batting 1,000. We've never had a green zone backslide and go back to gas.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Fantastic. So I just wanted to I note that one of our attendees has a hand up, and during work sessions, we do not recognize public comment or questions. That we save that for our regular meetings. So if you do have a question or comment that you'd like, please do send it to what is it, TC for town council at townofaustin.com. That will go to the entire town board, and then we can bring your question or comment to see if we can get a response either from our experts or the town council can contemplate how we would like to respond to that. Okay. So thank you, but I do appreciate everybody's participation. And again, I don't know if there are, and I don't recognize all the names on there, but if anybody is there from one of our condos, I had heard from one of our condo association presidents. I hope that you can take this information back. I had communicated back to her that we're talking about our own town parks at this point, though of course we are hopeful that our local landscapers will take this on as well. And to that, I know that Asean Lawnmower, which is one of the largest suppliers of lawn care equipment in our community to landscapers and homeowners and alike, and they also service our municipal equipment and others, has communicated with us. I know that there are some concerns from them about their initial investment and how they might be able to make that back. And there are concerns about, again, some of the things that I discussed, which are, does the charge last? Is it going to be efficient? Will it burn out? Is blah, 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 all those sorts of questions. I mean, I don't mean to belittle it because they're real. And we do hear from people in the field, and, we appreciate that you guys have field tested different brands and have an opinion on those. But, that's another, ultimately, we're hoping that this is going to make a difference, not only for our own municipal fleet of lawn equipment, but also for the greater community. And Jamie, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Hamilton, did you want to say something? You have your hand raised. No, okay. And
I have one more question. Are there any grant or financial assistance programs for smaller landscaping companies or even for the lawnmower shop itself to make these initial investments?
I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe one of you do.
Not you. I'm not asking you. I'm asking if the people running the program have heard of anything or any anything from anywhere, the state, anywhere that would offer them some sort of assistance on their initial buy-in.
I know there's a bill that was introduced in the legislature that would create, I want to say for commercial landscapers, I think it's $10,000 or $15,000 in rebates. But that bill has not yet been passed. It's just introduced.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, there are 2 Senate bills. One of them is going to implement a phase out of gas-powered equipment. So the change is coming, perhaps in a form of legislation, and the landscapers will have to be prepared to adopt to that new reality. And or they are already ahead of the curve and gain knowledge from Town of Austin's green zone and other activities, and are prepared to leverage their their electric and sustainable practices to gain more customers, as everyone wants to demand the same. On the other hand, there's the second Senate bill, which is also introduced at the same time, which will provide rebates on purchase of electric equipments. And as Councilman said, it has just been introduced. It's on the floor. So once it is passed, hopefully, and here Sustainable Westchester will be, actively engaging municipal members and the community to gain more and more support for that bill to be passed, so that landscapers receive that state rebate on purchase of electric equipment upfront to reduce the financial impact on them.
And also I'll just add that I think we could use Clean Energy Communities credits also towards our contract with Sustainable Westchester towards the development of the green zone.
Yes, I was going to say that, on the topic of funding, we do have $5,000 in Clean Energy Communities grants that's essentially allocated to the town of Asean. We have to choose a project that we'd like to use it for, and something that I know the board had contemplated as part of our capital plan was that we would be using that money to potentially go towards this relationship with Sustainable Westchester, Quiet Communities, and AGSA to start the project.
And
Jamie, you have your.
Yeah, I just had a couple of points that I wanted to touch on before we ended. With regard to the person from the condominium complex, there was a statement about legislating green zones. So I just want to clarify that this is definitely not legislation. It is a lead by example program to show how this can be done successfully, and with the hope that others can make similar transitions. So that's one thing. The other thing is regarding issues like, will the, runtime get them through the day, or the battery's going to burn out, and so forth. And this is exactly why education and training is so important, especially as you get fleets of equipment. You also want to know what is the battery bank that's going to get you through that day in a way that's comparable to gas. And so, there's economics involved. The concept is really with electric, you're buying your fuel up front when you invest in that battery bank. You don't have the ongoing gas expense, but you have those batteries that you're charging and are using as fuel every day. And so that's just something I want to frame so that people can start to think about it that way.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. And just a little add-on to there, and then I would be done unless there's other questions. I just really we support prudent regulation and bans where communities are just really frustrated and in need. Of course, we're always going to be there with our solutions program, but just we have to be very thoughtful and mindful and careful of how we choose to phase out and or regulate this industry. There's a lot of issues with batteries. And this is why we really encourage everybody to do a structured, prudent approach and do it, in phases, so we can really understand it and find out what works best for any given situation. And again, that Greg, I'm just throwing that out there. You ever need to have some discussions and need some information on how a lot of these things have been achieved and what some of the pitfalls could be and what some of the positives are, please don't hesitate to reach back out.
Definitely will. Thank you.
Yeah. And just one more point to what Dan was saying. There's a lot of electric equipment on the market, and only a subset of that equipment is really designed to do commercial scale work and stand up to the rigors of that work, structurally, performance-wise, et cetera. And, to that, Dan and I worked 3 years ago with the state of Massachusetts to set technical criteria for the state. Their public universities, municipalities, state agencies, and so forth, to set criteria to make sure that those purchases were informed purchases and that the equipment was truly commercial grade. Because the danger is if you just say, go out and buy electric equipment, people buy, residential grade stuff that may only work for a half hour or it breaks. And they say this stuff is like toys, it doesn't work. Well, that's because they really didn't select the right equipment. They weren't educated and trained how to use it and so forth. So there's a lot more to it than a lot of people appreciate. And just to add, I guess, a closing optimistic note, we're really looking to improve the health and quality of life in communities, both for workers and residents. I think we all know that one of the reasons we're here is because the noise and pollution from the industry has really become problematic on a lot of different fronts. And so this is a vision. And as Dan said, if we do this prudently and judicially and in a way that makes enduring change, I think we can get to a much better place for everybody.
And through Sustainable Westchester, because we have strength in numbers when many municipalities are doing the similar thing, we can then create like a force which will make it even more easier using the economies of scale to bring the cost down to get these transition happening in a cost-effective way for everyone involved.
Neha, did you know that the Village of Asean just put out a message tonight about their Recycle Right app? I think you're just talking about, Neha's been a behind the scenes person from Sustainable working on that. And the town has been using the Recycle Right app for a number of years. And now the Village of Asean just joined. So
Yes.
that was a perfect example because many communities joining together, we were able to get some grant money to pay us all back for the use of the Recycle Right app. So again, that's the benefit of working with Sustainable Westchester and working with a consortium of communities. And so we hope that we can continue to do that. And Westchester County does lead the way in many cases throughout the state, taking the initiative and being out front. So it's good for us to continue that. So thank you very much to everybody from Quiet Communities, AGSA, Sustainable Westchester. We appreciate all your good information. And if there are any follow-up questions, either from the attendees or from the board, we'll be sure to get those to you. Otherwise, we look forward to hopefully moving forward with this in the not too distant future.
Thank you,
Likewise,
Supervisor
thank
Levenberg.
you all for your
Thank you,
time.
everyone.
Yeah,
Good
thank
to
you
meet
for your
you.
time and consideration. Everybody
Happy
keep
New Year.
well. Keep well.
Thanks.
Thank
so
you.
Have a
much.
too.
good evening. Bye.
All right, so next up on our agenda, we have our gas-powered expert, Fernando Gonzalez. Sorry, he's our assessor, and he is with us tonight to request that the town board take action on 2 items relating to exemptions. The first is a local law that we would consider introducing to increase the amount of exemptions on property for veterans. And the second is a request for a resolution for the town to allow some exemptions to automatically renew for 2022. This would ease the paperwork burden on our seniors and those who are disabled and not require them to appear in person to renew their exemptions, and is allowable through a recent executive order from Governor Kathy Hochul. Fernando, I'm going to turn it over to you as our expert to explain these 2 requests and why you believe they are important for the board to consider.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. And congratulations to the new members of the town board. If you ever have any questions regarding my field, assessment, real estate, please reach out via email, text, or phone. Tonight.
Wait, one thing. I just want to know if you've been sold now and you're going to start transitioning all your equipment for your property in the Catskills to election.
It's a very interesting, and I must say that I'm very happy about the presentation. And I think in densely populated areas where noise has become an issue, I think it's a great program. I do have quite a bit of property that I maintain with gas and diesel equipment. I did look into some of the electrical options that were out there. I recently bought a zero turn mower, 62 inches. after conferring with Mario on different models. But anyway, and the electric equipment is expensive, and I was not sure, and perhaps I did not reach out to the proper manufacturers. I was not sure that it would do the job that I needed to do. But certainly technology is improving every day, and I think in the not too distant future, we should all be moving into electric and more into electric and less into gas power engine. And from experience, believe me, when you work with a weed whacker for 4 hours, and I only do it for 4 hours, those guys in the highway and the parks, they do it all day long. Believe me, when you work with a weed whacker, with the exhaust and the noise and the weeds and the bugs, at the end of those 4 hours, I'm exhausted. I gotta take a shower. I gotta get rid of all those pieces of grass and stuff on you. So I think it's a good option, and hopefully I'd like to see how the program continues on, and see what
Okay.
kind of equipment.
It really took you away from the main thing, but also I think your bees will like it. So FYI.
Yes. Oh yes, the bees will love it. They don't like it when I weed whack around the beehives. That's for
Right,
sure.
it's gonna be very quiet and they're gonna like it much better. Okay, on to tax exemptions.
Okay, up to tax exemption. The veterans exemption is a subject that is dear to my heart. I believe that our veterans should be getting the most benefits that the community can provide for them. Unfortunately, in New York State, there's so many different laws and options that in the town of Asean, we probably have the most complicated set of veterans exemption and applicability that is different between the villages, the school districts, and the town and the county. So whenever a veteran files an application with us, the experts in my office have to sit down and see what is the best options, because the law only allows them to receive one type of veteran exemption in a taxing jurisdiction. So many times they end up with, for example, the all veterans exemption that is approved by the school district for school purposes in Asean school district, and it's also approved for the Briarcliff School District, but the Cold War exemption is only approved by the Asean School District and not by the Briarcliff School District. When it comes to the Cold War exemption, the town, and the villages did not opt into it years ago because it had a 10-year sunset. And instead we kept the eligible funds exemption. Now, the eligible funds exemption is a different law that provides an exemption to veterans who receive funds from the military in order to purchase a home. There is very few new eligible fund applicants nowadays. Most of the exemption, many municipalities transition to the old veterans and abandon the eligible fund. Now, in our case, since we kept the eligible funds, not only for town purposes, but also the village of Asean and the village of Briarcliff Manor, when we did the reassessment in 2016, we adopted the law that allowed us to take the amount of exemption that was based on a roll that was at a small percentage of value, and multiply it by the percentage that the law allows. So fortunately, many of those eligible funds exemption now receive a more significant reduction, which in their taxable assessed value. So the reason I'm coming to you today is because the state legislature and the government and the governor signed the law that allowed that increased the limits for 2 of the veterans exemption. Unfortunately, in the town of Asean, the only one that we have is the Cold War veterans, because the old veterans exemption was never approved in the town or the villages. Recently, the county has already increased the limits from basically 36,000 and 180,000 to 75,000 and 250,000 for the disabled. The town of Asean and the villages Cold War veterans exemption was approved way back when, and I didn't research to see when that really happened. Maybe Chrissy can tell us. Unfortunately, the town and the villages only approved this exemption, the Cold War veterans exemption, at the smallest limit allowed back then, which was 12,000, which is a 15%, supposedly, or rather up to a maximum of 12,000 and 40,000 for the disabled veteran.
I'm sorry, can you just clarify, is the 12,000 the amount that they receive as the exemption, or is the amount of the property value?
No, the amount of taxable assessed value reduction.
Okay.
So when you think about it, it's really the law says is the 15% level, but it's really not 15% level. Imagine a $12,000 reduction in taxable assessed value for town purposes, for example, is what is the rate? Town general 250. So you're looking like a $24 reduction per year on town taxes. So it's not much. It's not a game. It's not a game changer, you know.
So basically, what you're can we just like try to? It's. I have to say it's a little confusing. Yes. You've thrown out a lot of statistics and you've thrown a lot of different things. So is there a way that you could just kind of pull together? So the recommendation is for the town to adopt the different exemption now, right? To the one that we hadn't adopted before, and then up the maximum that allowable. Is that right? So the Cold War exemption would go up, and the other
I thought what Fernando was saying was that the alternative veterans exemption is no longer an option. Is that correct?
No, the alternative veterans exemption is an option. However, we would have to analyze to see whether we will be doing more, whether, I mean, the good thing is that the current eligible funds exemption recipients could be grandfathered in if the eligible funds amount that they're getting is going to be more than they would get if we adopt the alternative veterans. So if we adopt the alternative veteran at the maximum limit like the county did, then most of them would be better off for us to move them into the alternative veteran. However, that, you know, it's going to be a task, and new applications will be required. The current eligible funds veterans, we are talking townwide about 163 recipients townwide, and of those, there are only 40 in the town outside villages, and their net taxable reduction in assessed value ranges from about approximately 68,000 to 84,000. The maximum that you could adopt on the alternative veteran would be, as the county did, the 75,000 for wartime, 125 for combat, plus 250,000 for disabled. So, you know, we would have to analyze and see which of the program would be best specifically to that veteran's situation. And we would have to have them fill out a new application.
Okay, so
But
let's just go
the
back.
call- I'm sorry.
So if
Right.
we were to accept, if we were to adopt the legislation that would allow the maximum, basically, we're gonna allow the maximum amount available to each particular property owner, right? Each particular veteran. So
Yes.
that, and then you would, once we change the law, you would direct each veteran to what the best option would be for them.
Yes.
Based
As
on
we do now, whenever we
Right.
do have a new applicant, we analyze and depending where they live, if they live
Right.
in the village of Asean, village of Radcliffe Manor, which school district. So we have to analyze it, sit down and see which gives them the most benefits.
right,
Now, the statistic that I emailed to you, which was based on the Cold War, on the town general, we have 282 recipients of the Cold War veterans. And let me remind you that the current level that is is 12,000 and 40,000. 40,000 for the disabled, and we only have 15 disabled. This is in the town general. In the town outside, of course, we only have 71.
Cold War.
71 Cold War plus 3 disabled Cold War. So you know, the impact when if we were to go to the maximum as the county did, which is the 75 and 250,000. For the town general, the current exempted total amount is about 4.2 million of taxable assessed value. If we were to go to the maximum, it would go to about 24 million exempted amount. Now, on the town outside, we would go from about 1 million in exempted taxable assessed value to about 6 million of exempted taxable assessed value. Now, bear in mind that when, you know, although it sounds like a lot of taxable assessed value, on the town general side, the total taxable value is 5.2 billion, I believe it is, Victoria, if you could help me on that.
I can't help you on that at this
Yeah,
moment.
on
But
the town
yeah,
general,
it
the
is a
total
lot more
taxable,
than-
the total assessed value is 5.2 million, and of that, I believe is 4 billion in taxable assessed value. So it's a very minuscule part in the scheme of things.
Fernando, I have a question. Does that include, like, can we opt into the alternative veteran tax deduction as well? Are we in there now or we're not?
No, we're not in the alternative. We
All
are
right,
in
so
the
what would it
eligible.
take to?
We
so
are in
let
the
me- let me
eligible
just-
funds.
All right, wait. Let me just ask the question before I forget it. All right, so say we're to opt into that one as well. Can we opt into both of them and you guys figure out what's better for people?
Yes, we
Okay,
will continue doing what we do now, which is figure out which is the best, which
Right.
would provide. In other words, if the veteran currently receives a higher amount with the eligible funds,
you'll leave it.
his grandfather he can
So you-
stay.
So you recommend that we opt into the other one as well, and our tax office will do the best, as they always do, to make sure our veterans get the best discount that they can.
Yes.
All right, so
precisely.
you and
Can I-
Christy will work together to guide, to see how possible that is.
Can I just clarify one thing? Because Fernando keeps saying grandfathered, and so I just want to be clear what that means. So if the town adopts the alternative veteran tax exemption, can a new person walking in tomorrow who's, you know, bought a property in Ossining, never had a tax exemption, do they have that option of either or, whatever is better for them? Or is it if you've already been in the eligible funds exemption and now the town has switched over, so to speak, that may be wrong, and that's what I'm looking for clarification on, to the alternative veterans tax. Is that different?
Yes, when I say grandfather in, if a current veteran who is getting the eligible funds and continues to get a higher benefit by keeping the eligible fund, he is grandfather in. First of all, the military is no longer issuing any more eligible funds. So we do not get any new eligible funds applicants. The county did that. And if you notice, for county purposes, we have both. We have eligible funds who have been grandfathered in for years, and we have the old veterans who, when the county adopted that, then all the new applicants went into the old veterans, alternative veterans. So grandfather would mean those who are currently receiving eligible funds and will receive a higher benefit with eligible funds, they will continue to receive and stay with that.
Just to Christie's question, so somebody new coming in is not gonna get, as you said, the Army isn't issuing that. So they are not eligible for eligible funds, right?
No, the only ones that we have seen, very few in my 10 years here, are totally disabled veterans who receive funds to build or outfit a house for someone with 100% disability.
But if that person
And
came
those
in,
are totally, are fully exempted, yes. That's a
but if that
different-
person came in, they would have the option of either one, the eligible funds. If someone with eligible funds did come in based upon the scenario you just described, then you could look at what the better option would be for them in terms of eligible funds or the alternative veterans.
Yes,
exemption.
yes.
Okay. So I think the Councilwoman Feldman touched on this. I think, you know, I can work with Fernando and we can take a look at the code as it currently exists. And this may be a good opportunity to tweak some of the complexities that Fernando mentioned to the extent that's possible. And then we can present something to the board. I guess in terms of procedure, it would have to be done by local law amending the code. So if the board was so inclined, you could call for a public hearing at your meeting next week on the 11th to be opened at the meeting on the 25th. And I think Fernando and I could certainly put together a draft for the board's consideration in advance of the opening of the public hearing.
I like it. What do you think, Dana?
I think I'm in favor of offering maximum benefits to veterans. I will just say that. That is, I will say that's translated from my days on the school board, and it hasn't gone away. I think that our country doesn't do enough for our veterans, and many of whom have suffered an incredible amount to fight for this country and defend our values here and abroad, and then they come and get really overlooked. Is the best way to put it. So I think that, you know, if we have an option to offer something to our veterans, that we should. I know that Town of Cortland did just adopt this, I believe, recently. So I think we can also look at what their legislation looks like. And I'll just open it up to our other board colleagues for your thoughts on the matter.
I agree. I think we should offer them maximum benefits.
Okay, Councilwoman Hamilton.
Yes, I also agree we should have a formalized structure though, so that it's not, you know, it's clear who's getting the benefit and why. And it's fair. I'm sure it is fair, but that way everybody will be clear that there's a fair process.
Councilman Minichia.
Yep, I'm on board. It's the least we can do for them.
Great.
And this is just the drafting of the law, right? I mean, you
Yes,
still have to
absolutely.
go through the entire public hearing process and
Sure.
hear from the public in multiple forums. So it's just the next step so that the board has something concrete and substantive to look at, other than, you know, obviously this seems to have been a productive conversation, but it might help inform your decision further.
Absolutely. Just making sure that everybody wants to pursue it.
Sure.
And now there was a second discussion that we wanted to have, which is not a local law, but a resolution that we could consider adopting to allow for these automatic exemptions. And Fernando, did you want to just talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we have town general, we have entire town, we have approximately 165 recipients of the senior aged exemption, which is RPTL 467.
That's real
for the
property tax law for anybody who doesn't
real
know.
property
Yeah.
tax law, 467. When this pandemic started and for the 2020 roll, the governor issued an executive order across the board that allowed us to renew this exemption without the senior having to come to the office or send renewal applications. So the process right now, and let me remind you that this is the low income senior, where the maximum household income is 37,400. Again, another injustice. Who could live in, you know, these are some of our most vulnerable senior citizens in the town and villages. So the governor for the 2020 roll issued a blanket emergency declaration, which allowed us to renew this exemption without having to require income information and renewal application from these seniors. That prevented them from having to try to get in. You know, many of these seniors do not use emails, faxes, and they're so used to just coming to the office with their paperwork, or many times not even their income tax return, but their Social Security and pension end of the year statements, and we would compile this information, and many times we complete the application for them and get their signature. So for the 2020 roll, the governor allowed us to just renew it. Now, what the governor has done is have given us a local option that would require you, the town board, to pass a resolution allowing me to follow that same process, which is just renew the exemption without having them to supply income information based on at the same level that they have last year. So,
Okay, and I just want to make sure that there is a caveat in that resolution that we can include, which would allow for, you know, if there is a property that's changed hands, that, you know, it's not automatic. And I mean, it's automatic, but there's exceptions that you can make. So that if you believe that a property has changed hands or that there's been some significant change, that you can require proof.
yes, yeah, typically, if a property changes hands, the exemptions are removed, and
Right.
the new owners are required to file for whatever exemptions they may qualify for, including the star exemption, the basic or senior star. But many times, in the case of these seniors, the issue is that maybe they add another family member to the deed, you know, for the purpose of estate planning, etc. And that may change the application that we may need, or they may put the property in a trust, given a lifelong estate to the current occupant. So in those cases, which are very few, we may require them to provide certain information on perhaps a new application, but
Okay.
those are very few.
Thank you. Do any of my board colleagues have any questions for Fernando about this? Otherwise, I would recommend that we ask our council to prepare a resolution for us to allow this and to be ready to adopt at our next meeting. Is that right, Christy?
Yep. If the board wants to.
Is there anybody who has any questions or issues or concerns?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. In that case, thank you to Fernando Gonzalez, our town assessor, for taking the time this evening to zoom in with your favorite town board. And we will see you soon. And it looks to me like, you know, we appreciate your detailed explanations, and looks like we'll be moving in the direction that you have recommended. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, have a
You
great
have a
day.
good evening.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't miss any questions from town board colleagues. No, because, you know, I have to say that Councilman Minichio, you're frozen on my screen, so you haven't moved in a while. So I'm just not 100% sure. If
Oh,
you
am
did.
I?
Yeah, so
All
I
right.
can't, I don't know if you have questions or not. I can't tell. So raise your virtual hand if you do, otherwise, or speak up, because I can hear you, but I can't see you. Okay. So everybody else is
Okay.
good though? Yeah, you're good?
All good.
Awesome. All right, so moving right along. Next topic is that next week's legislative session is our reorganizational meeting. And at this meeting, one of the many things that we do is we appoint town board liaisons to our various and sundry committees, departments, other local governments, etc. And in anticipation of that meeting, I'd like to give the board an opportunity to review the proposed liaison assignments for the year. And also I would like to announce that I have asked my colleague, Councilwoman Liz Feldman, to serve as deputy supervisor for 2022. During my tenure, the deputy supervisor baton has been handed on each year, and I would like to thank Councilman Meyer for taking on that responsibility last year. Victoria Caffarelli is going to share her screen now with a listing of the liaison appointments that are proposed for review and discussion. It has already been circulated to the board in advance of the meeting, but we are happy to discuss this together as a board this evening.
Okay, can everybody see? I know, I'm sorry, my computer has seemed to have gone to nighttime mode, I guess. I didn't know that was possible, but it is. So this is our sort of our working draft of the reorganizational agenda. So do you want me to read through them or just kind of share them? Is it easier if I read it because it is a little hard to?
I think it's, yeah, go ahead and read it. Or maybe you can do it instead of do it in presentation mode, so at least the screen is a little bit bigger.
Yes, it's the font is very, very small. I think.
And I think, yeah, I think it would be helpful.
This?
Can you just zoom in?
Let's see. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay.
All right. So anyway, yes. So I can just read. I serve as de facto on all committees. I also am most likely going to be the president of Historic Hudson River Towns this year. Also part of the intermunicipal leadership team, which includes the school district, the library, the village, and a number of other agencies and organizations. Westchester Municipal Officials Association, I also serve on the executive committee for that, and I believe in May. Hopefully I will step into the presidency of that. Asean Communities That Care, which is a coalition of all of our different stakeholder groups that are working on prevention for our young people in the community. Westchester Municipal Planning Federation, I also serve on the executive committee for that. I'm the one municipal official. Sustainable Westchester, we just heard from today, I'm on the board, and I also have in the last year participated as a co-liaison to the Recreation Advisory Board and also co-liaison to Teatown Lake Reservation, where I also serve on the their advisory board. Next up, we have Councilwoman Feldman. As mentioned, she will take on the role without, unless she's objecting or anybody else, as deputy supervisor, serve as our Green Ossining Committee liaison. Asean Volunteer Ambulance Corps she's been involved with for many years. The Historical Society, Asean Boat and Canoe Club, she was Commodore at one point. T-Town, where she lived very close to T-Town. Liaison to the Village of Asean Water Department. The Asean Arts Project Summer Concert Series Subcommittee, which is, I don't know if it really exists anymore, but that was to help us choose the bands for the summer concert series. A liaison to the Asean Climate Adaptive Design Studio Project. We're in our second round now, grant funded project looking at protecting our waterfront from sea level rise and climate change. And we're working with a consultant on that along with the village. Co-liaison to Asean Community Action Program, to Asean Chamber of Commerce, and to the Asean Briarcliff Manor Fire Departments, and to the Village of Briarcliff Manor, co-liaison to those. So you will see there are other others appointed. And Councilman Feldman, are you good with all those appointments?
Yes, I'm fine with them, and I would be honored to be deputy supervisor. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so maybe we can just scroll down a little bit. And Councilman Hamilton, you are a little bit newer to our community, so we're gonna give you a little bit less of a heavy lift starting out, assigning you to liaison to the Village of Asean, to IFCA, which is our housing network or affordable housing network, our Community Equity Task Force, Asean Police Reform and Reinvention Working Committee. You had already, I believe, were appointed to that committee by the village, and now you would be our town liaison or town appointee to that committee, and Asean Community Action Program. And we will add others to your burden soon when you feel like you're ready to take on a few more. Councilman Manicchio, I'm hoping that you're going to act admirably in the position of liaison to the Asean and Briarcliff Manor Fire Departments. I think you are well suited for that. Recreation Advisory Board for your many years working with our youth leagues. Liaison to the Highway Department. Again, I think you're familiar with quite a few of our highway operations. Village of Briarcliff Manor. I think you're co-liaison with Councilman Feldman on that. Asean and Briarcliff Manor Chambers of Commerce. Co-liaison to the Asean and Briarcliff School Districts. I think you have one child left in the school district. Co-liaison to Village of Asean Water Department, and co-liaison to the Asean Boat and Canoe Club. Are you good with all those?
That'd be great. Yep, looking forward to it.
Fantastic. And Councilman Meyer, somebody who's worked at many levels of government. It's seamless for you to help us know what the heck's going on in the county, to work on our intermunicipal committee, liaison to New York State. Also, that should be an easy lift for you, continuing to be one. Business Development Committee, I don't even know if that really exists anymore, but should it one more time exist, you will be our liaison to it. The Asean Historic Cemeteries Conservancy has done so much good work helping us keep our beautiful historic cemeteries in good shape, along with our staff. Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee for your good years working on our land use boards in the village. We know that you're primed for that, and you've been watching carefully over the last year. Asean and Briarcliff School Districts, as you have kids coming into the school district. Co-liaison to Asean Historical Society, to the Briarcliff Chamber of Commerce, and to the Asean Chamber of Commerce. Good?
Yeah, sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. All right, so that's our, does anybody have anything that they'd like to add or discuss about the liaison appointments? No? Fantastic. Well, in that case, guess what, everybody? I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session for advice of counsel and personnel.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. I second.
Okay, we'll take that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Fantastic. In that case, thank you so much for joining our very first meeting of 2022. We will be back next week with our reorganizational meeting, and we look forward to seeing everybody on Zoom. Have a great night, everybody. And for the town council members and the new ones, there's another